Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to the Sandlot, the best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got hosed on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlot, former pro player and Major League scout, Ted Howard.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
Derek Jeter, New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by Diego Austin Talavera and sponsored by the Sandlot Radio Network, Grit Sports Collective, Guzman E. Gomez, and by Freestyle Pools Sydney. You can tune into the Sandlot every weekend on Sirius XM Radio MLB Network podcast platform and on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Pandora, Apple Music, and Simplecast. Last week's Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast, we had the owner of two Australian Baseball League franchises, the Perth Heat and the Sydney Blue Sox. We had an ABL pioneer, Cole Charay. This week on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast, we have former MLB player, now baseball broadcaster on Rockies TV, MLB Network Radio, and on Apple TV Friday Night Baseball. We got Sandlot regular Ryan Spilborghs. We also have one of only 10 Australian position players to ever get to the big leagues. His son, Max, is battling his way through the minor leagues and is the youngest player in the Australian World Baseball Classic roster. We have Trent Durrington. We also have our Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast champion character of the week from the Yarrawarra Tigers Baseball Club. We have young Mason Hayes Conway. We're going to start you off with Sandlot regular media guru, Ryan Spilborghs. We're with former Major League player and current media guru for everything baseball, Ryan Spilborghs, on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast version of the Sandlot. Been on a lot of Sandlot radio shows, but this is your first time on the Down Under podcast. So, Spilly, thanks so much for being a guest once again.
It's great to see you. You're upside down, so it's obviously really fun to join you. I love what you've been doing down under. A lot of the shows have been awesome, so I appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I think it's important for the Australian public to understand baseball at a higher level, so we try to give them as much information as possible and to feature some of the people that have been paving the way for future generations of Australians to have an opportunity in this great game. And it takes guys like David Nielsen and Graham Lloyd and Craig Shipley to have spent time in the big leagues, have made an impact, and now we got an up-and-comer in Travis Pizzana. So there's some exciting times. And I got to tell you, Little League is making an impact here. I just did the Little League trials with the Cronulla Association, and they had over 200 kids try out for 4 levels, 8 teams. So pretty impressive.
That's awesome. Anytime I start seeing the game of baseball grow, I get really pumped up. And you're right. Like seeing Travis, sign as the number 1 overall pick with Cleveland just a handful of years ago. Hopefully that inspires more Australians to play baseball. And by the way, I've had many Australian teammates, and they're one of my favorites. They're funny, they're good ball players, and in a scrum, they're the first ones that Australian that I didn't like.
Yeah, I'm sure that when it comes to bench clearing brawl, the Aussies will be the first ones out there. They're not afraid to do the old Donnybrook, as they'd say over here.
Yeah, not at all. I've experienced that firsthand. So, I just love what you're doing down there, TP. Keep growing the game. It's appreciated. And hopefully we see more Australians in the big leagues, or at least in college baseball in the States, as their program continues to grow as well.
Yeah, and right now there's around 150 that are in different levels of college baseball programs. And there's a couple kids that have a really good shot of being high draft picks this year. So there's, like I said, there's a big upside for Australian baseball, and there's some catalysts, and we're going to help keep pushing it. You and I, buddy.
Let's keep going. Keep pushing.
So, Spilly, 2026. It sounds crazy to even say that, but that's the season that we have coming up. Spring training that pitchers and catchers have just reported. So it's getting close. Let's talk about, first of all, what you got coming up, being a baseball media guru that you are, former player turned to the dark side. Just give us an idea of everything you got going on, because it's a lot.
Yeah, I got a lot of things going on. I appreciate you asking. It's year 13 for me as a broadcaster for the Colorado Rockies. So continue to do that job. Hopefully the Rockies are better than what they were last year. Last year was hard to watch. It's hard to watch. But I've also, I've expanded with XM Radio, Sirius XM, MLB Network Radio for 11 years in our Loud Out show, which is 2 to 5 Eastern on MLB Network Radio with CJ Nikowski. It's crazy. We're coming up on 7 years of doing that show together. So that's been great. And then last year was my third year on Apple TV, so Friday Night Baseball on Apple TV Plus. It's been awesome, and then that's turned into the MLB International. So I've done the World Series now the last 3 years, and this last one was incredible. So if you were in Australia, you would have heard my voice along with Dave Fleming during the World. It's been fun. I'd never thought, TP, that I'd ever be a broadcaster. And I say this all the time. I didn't go to school for it. When I was a player, people would ask me to do things, and I'd say yes, which is an important thing for anybody listening to this. If someone asks you to go get a cup of coffee, you go get a cup of coffee. If you're, if somebody's asking you for an autograph, you have plenty of time to sign an autograph. If you have time to do an interview, you do the interview, because you only have a small period of time where people actually care about your opinion or your voice. And I never did it because I was trying to get something out of somebody. It just was, that's what it takes to be a pro. That's what it takes to be a decent human, is, offering up your time when it's available. So my career started in broadcasting when I never expected it. I was still playing baseball in Japan. I got a phone call after my first year in Japan. I thought I was going to go back for a second year. Baseball was really tough on me and my family. Because for 6, my wife and kids with a 13-hour time difference, and you understand this with your family in the United States, and you're on a time difference being in Australia, it's tough. I had 2 young kiddos. My daughter was 3, my son was 2. My wife was basically like a single mom when she came back to the States while I was in Japan. And it was just it was a massive strain. It was a strain on our family and our marriage. And I got a random phone call right after the season ended from a guy named Kenny Miller, who's now in charge of Amazon Sports. But Kenny was he was the executive producer of Root Sports in Colorado. And he called me and said, "Hey, Spilly, are you interested in broadcasting?" And I said, "No, I'm a baseball player." But he said, "Why don't you sit down and have a coffee with me?" And so I did, and we had a coffee, and I had in my mind, I'm not interested in broadcasting, never have, never will be. I'm going to be a baseball player forever. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to play baseball. I want to play in Japan. I want to play in the big leagues again. And then most likely my path is going to be in the front office or as a coach. Never, ever once considered broadcasting. And Kenny sat with me and said, we're looking for a former player. So he said, "We don't know if you're going to be good at this or bad at this, but we want to give you an opportunity because we do think, based on your personality and how you treated people." And I sat on that. My wife and I talked about it for about 4 months. I trained as a baseball player in the off season. And I made the decision in January of 2014 to hang up my cleats and take a journey into broadcasting. And it ended up being one of the best things I ever did. And I wouldn't have done it, and I wouldn't have been sitting here talking about this if it wasn't for taking a call, having a cup of coffee. And then probably the most important part that I tell all kids, high school, college, and I tell big leaguers all the time. The biggest reason why I got this chance, because people will line up to be a big league broadcaster. There's only 30 chairs. There's only 30 seats. It's actually harder to get this job than it is to be a big leaguer. There's like 750 big league jobs. There's only 30 analyst jobs for these teams, and some teams have 2. So there's only 60 opportunities. And I asked Kenny down the road, I said, why did you give me the chance? And he said, player, you treated everybody with respect, and you treated people that would walk past you, because you never know who the executive is. It's never the person in the suit and the tie. It's usually the guy in a t-shirt and jeans that is unassuming. And how you treat people was really important. So I got the chance to be a broadcaster because I was nice to people. That is it. Like there's no secret sauce here. I was just nice to people. And as I've learned in broadcasting, my team and my family in my work life, it's just like a baseball team. I am with these guys and gals 12 hours a day. We travel together. We have good times. We have bad times. But our group is all about family. And how you treat the people around you makes it so people want to go to work. And like people will put their neck on the line or give you opportunities because you're easy to work with. When you're not easy to work with, I could have been chewed up and spit out in a heartbeat. But I was all about just treating people well because that's my innate nature, not because I have a great voice for it or because I have like.
Now that you've made the decision to be a broadcaster, we're 13 years into this, it fell into your lap. And like you said, there's a lot to be said for your message. Be kind to people all the time, no matter who they are. And I always tell kids this, and I've done it to them. You never know who's watching you. You don't know where that guy that can make a decision about your future is. And I've done that here in Australia. I'll go and sit in a spot where nobody knows I'm there for 3 or 4 innings. And then I'll walk up and it's like, oh, and then they start changing the way they play. And it's disturbing to me. And I've told them that. I was like, you don't know who's watching. You don't know how long I've been here. So I don't know why wouldn't you go about it the same way every time. So I hope that that's a message that you and I can get through to these people, that it's never changing character, being that guy all the time. And I can say that about you, Spilly, because every time I ever saw you and approached you, you were that guy. And I can say that about the Rockies as an organization. They're a family-oriented organization. There's people that have been there since their inception. And I admire the Rockies for that. There's not a lot other things to admire about the Rockies right now, but that's that you can. Because there's people that have been there since day one, Spilly.
Well, they're starting to see a transition, which is very necessary. I mean, in order to get caught up to the rest of the league. So they've done a lot of good things in the last couple of months. I will share 2 stories for you because if a kid's listening, I want you to hear what I have to say about this. I didn't get to the big leagues on my own. I never did. Like as much as an athlete, we are a reflection of the coaches and our parents and our community. We really are. We reflect. I reflect my mom. I reflect my dad. I reflect Fred Walker, my high school baseball coach. I reflect all these different people that have had an impact on my life. And you can see in the background of the Zoom, I have this jersey. It says it's number 24. It says Spilborghs. It's a UC Santa Barbara jersey, and it means the world to me. And the reason why it's number 24 was for a teammate of mine. His name was Brad Wright, and Brad Wright was a redshirt senior, so he was like 24 years old. And I used to always pick up baseballs. So like I pick up trash, I pick up baseballs. So like when nobody was watching, I would just pick up the trash and throw it in the trash can. That always trash on the ground. I just throw it in the trash. I still do it. So one day Brad, and I was a redshirt freshman, and I was terrible. I was not good. I was not good my freshman year. He saw me always picking up baseballs, and one day he bought me a pair of sunglasses. I was a center fielder, and he goes, Spilly, come over to right field with me. And Brad gave me these Oakleys, and at UC Santa Barbara, the sun would be right in right fielder's eyes. So like you had to learn how to catch a fly ball in the sun. So Brad bought me these glasses and he said, I know you're a center fielder, but I'm going to teach you how to create an angle to catch a sun ball, because if you can play right field at UCSB, which is really hard to play, you're going to get a chance to play. And so if I didn't do the things that I did, which was innate when nobody was watching, Brad Wright would never have bought me a pair of sunglasses. If I was a kid that was showing up late, throwing trash on the ground, not picking up baseballs, Brad Wright would never have bought me a pair of sunglasses. That pair of sunglasses changed my career path.
That's amazing. And it's those little things that happen to you along the way. And like you said, you didn't get there by yourself. You had some assistance. And sometimes it was the little things that made the big differences. So that's a great message to kids. Spilly, let's take a quick break. I want the second story, and then we're going to talk a little about spring training in the WBC. We're going to go to a quick break. Don't go away. We got more from Spilly right here on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast when we return. We are with our Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast champion character of the week. He is Mason Hayes Conway from the Yarrawarrah Tigers. Mason, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thank you.
You got two brothers that play for the Tigers. All three of you guys were at the trials for the Little League, and I believe I saw all three of those names on a Little League list. So it's pretty cool that the whole family's getting a chance to trial and go to the state tournament. Hopefully win that, go to the Nationals, hopefully win that, and go to Little League World Series.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the fact that you're in a baseball family. How in Australia do you end up in a baseball family? There's a lot of sports that are way more popular. How is it that you're a baseball kid?
First, my dad started playing baseball, so everyone else enjoyed it, and then we all started playing.
And it turned out you had a little bit of skill for the sport, and when you do, it becomes fun. You know, when you can play it pretty well, it becomes fun, and you guys have a pretty good setup there at the Tigers, where you have a chance to develop really good skills and, you know, all the equipment and the type of ground where you can really get a lot of training done. So over the next few years, I can see Mason and your bros getting a lot better at the game of baseball.
Yeah.
Major league teams that you like?
Arizona Diamondbacks.
All right. What about the Diamondbacks do you like? That's kind of an obscure pick.
A couple of the players I like. My dad started supporting them, so I did.
Who are the players that you like?
Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll.
And did you see that Corbin Carroll just broke this bone in your hand that a lot of hitters break? It's called your hammock bone. He just broke that. So he's not going to play in the World Baseball Classic. He was on the roster for the U.S., but now he's been pulled off. But it's that hammock bone injury, usually by the end of spring training, I think he'll be ready to go again. So I don't think he'll miss any of the regular season.
Let's hope not. He's one of my favorite players.
Is there anybody else in MLB you like other than the Diamondbacks and any other players?
I do like Trey Turner because he's kind of smooth with plays and quick.
Yes, and how about the way he slides? He makes it look pretty easy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's something that we like to keep teaching camp because I see a lot of kids sliding bad where they could hurt themselves. And if you slide like Trey Turner, you're not going to get hurt at all. You're just going to walk away in style. So the champion character of the week is a kid that he's coachable. I've noticed that about Mason. You have honor, and honor is something where you carry your family name, which is Hayes Conway, in a positive manner that reflects positively on your family, and I know you do that. Also, has a positive mental attitude, perseveres, which I've seen you do because you had a broken hand and you still came to the trials. You still throw a bullpen, even though you had a broken hand on your left hand. That right hand could still throw, and you had great mechanics and you hit spots, which to me translates as outs. So that's another reason. And then the other thing is being a mentor. I noticed how you were with your little brother and other kids that were younger than you, and then being a good sportsman. And I've noticed that about you, too. So that's why you're Sandlot Champ of the Week. And I got a Guzman y Gomez gift certificate for you so you can have lunch one day after school over there at Guzman y Gomez.
Thank you.
All right. So, Mason, last thing. Out of all the things that you love about baseball, what's number one?
Just playing the sport, having fun, and playing with my mates, trying to win.
That's a really good answer. He's Mason Hayes Conway. He's our Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast champion character of the week. Mason, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thank you.
I'm Closer Ray, owner of the Sydney Blue Sox and the Perth Heat, the best international for baseball, and you're listening to the Sandlot podcast.
This spring, something beautiful is blooming in Carlsbad Village. Introducing Diego Austin Talavera, a new coastal shop celebrating handcrafted Mexican Talavera pottery, vibrant succulents, and curated gifts inspired by Baja and Southern California. From statement planners to one-of-a-kind home accents, every piece is chosen to bring color, culture, and sunshine into your space. Opening soon on Carlsbad Village Drive. Follow the journey and shop online at DiegoAustinTalavera.com. Diego Austin Talavera, where coastal California meets the art of Mexico.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG. Crunchy cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball, the man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque.
Especially Shohei, Mookie, and the Judge. We're back with Ryan Spilborghs. He's now a media guru, former Major League Baseball player. But also, you know, you grow up in Santa Barbara and you get to play at Santa Barbara High School and then UC Santa Barbara and then get into the minor leagues, make it to the big leagues. And a lot of it is based on personality, hard work, what you did when no one was watching. I did witness a lot of that in my years of broadcasting out of Coors Field when Spilly was a young player. And I continue to see it now with your broadcast, and you're approachable. And there's a lot of big league players that aren't Spilly. And I wish that they would understand, like you just said, it's a small window when people care. So you better treat them right while you have the opportunity. And you're probably the best I know at that.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, it wasn't fake. You know, like I've always wanted to be a great teammate. That's all I cared about, is just making sure that the people around me knew that I had their back. So, I mean, if you really care about being a good teammate, it means watching your teammates take at bats. It means cheering for your teammate if you're not playing, which I think I was a very good big league cheerleader for a long time.
Yeah, the type of teammate you want. There's a lot to be said for that. You make rosters a lot of times, not just based on skills, but personality and how you fit into a clubhouse. And your personality fits in a lot of clubhouses. So anyway, let's talk about this upcoming 2026 spring training. Pitchers and catchers just reported. I don't know what's going to happen, man. There's been some big free agent acquisition, a lot of money spent again by the Dodgers. And then we had some trades, and we got WBC coming up. So it's a big spring.
It is. I mean, this is a big year because we have a potential lockout at the end of the next year, which I don't want to talk about at all. I don't think it's going to get there. So this season, this off season already, we've seen the possible impact of what a work stoppage might look like. It's the least amount of money spent on free agency in the last 5 years. But at the same time, we're seeing records being broken, right? Kyle Tucker signs a monster deal with the Dodgers. We saw Dylan Cease, monster deal with Toronto. You know, so baseball is in a good financial spot. We just saw Tarek Skubal win an arbitration case for $32 million, breaking a record. So baseball from a financial standpoint and from a global standpoint, going back to last year, witnessing probably the best World Series we've seen in decades. Now, like I have recency bias because I watched the whole thing. There's been some great World Series. Let's not get that wrong, right? Guardians versus Cubs, Game 7. We had the amazing 2019 World Series with the Washington Nationals beating the Houston Astros. So we've had some really good ones. But what made this one more unique was the regions that the games were being played. You had Canada. You had the Dodgers with this just monster of a team. And then you have Shohei Ohtani and this amazing Japanese core. We had over 100 million people watch the World Series this year, which was a record. Globally, the sport is in the best position it's ever been in. From the type of players we're getting from all these different countries to just the different markets that now have good baseball teams. Milwaukee, the Brewers last year had the best record in baseball. The Tigers have been on fire. Cincinnati Reds made it to the postseason. We have a sport where it is in the best financial shape that it's ever been in. There's a chance of expansion down the road. We're going to get 32 teams at some point. Some of these teams that have had stadium issues, they're figuring out ways to get it resolved. So everything from baseball, from the business aspect, it is moving in a great direction. And what we saw in this offseason, and as you start digging through, like, well, what teams have a chance to win the World Series? I can make an argument for at least 14 teams. I can even tell you that the Pirates have a legitimate shot if they get into the postseason to make a hell of a run because they have some of the best pitching in the sport with Paul Skeens. So this year, I think, continues to highlight and continues to grow off the positive momentum that last year had with the World Series. And then you have the WBC kicking us off, which is just fantastic. Fantastic. So the sport, TP, the sport is in such a good spot. We have fantastic superstar players across the board in every market. It really is. It's a great time to be a baseball fan.
And it's a great time for the growth of the sport. And I'm noticing it in the juniors here in Australia because the numbers have grown, I think, by like 15% in this country in the last 2 years. And it has a lot to do with the World Series coverage and the fact that they've been so exciting and the fact that it did feature the regions and all the Japanese players and creating interest. And then we even have a league starting up in Dubai. So when you think about now the sports that, all these billions of people that watch cricket, which is a bat and ball sport, they have an opportunity to look at baseball as a potential entertainment outlet for them.
Yeah, no question. And as Australia continues to grow too, I mean, we're hoping to see more, big league games like they did a couple years ago when the Dodgers came to Australia, which was fantastic. We've seen games in London. We've seen games in Mexico. The growth of the game is I cannot imagine what it's going to look like 10 years from now. It's as long as baseball continues to operate in the way that it's currently operating, I feel very strongly that the health of baseball is going to be in such a fantastic spot where so many fans are engaged with it because of how many teams there are that are just fun to watch.
And this year we've got the WBC, and it's a little weird this year because I had never heard before that guys weren't going to get to play because of insurance reasons. And some of the countries have been horribly affected by that. And it's affecting their rosters to where some of their superstars aren't going to get to play. And I don't know how that can be resolved, but I just think that's sad.
So I think that's one aspect where, if you dig into it a little bit more, it makes more sense from a organizational perspective, which I'll give you. So Puerto Rico is one of those teams that has had problems with some of their players now. Francisco Lindor just had surgery on the hook of the hamate bone, so he's out for the WBC no matter what. We just saw Corbin Carroll have the same injury with his hand, so he's out with the Diamondbacks. But take for example, you're the Houston Astros. The WBC for some of the players, the insurance is talking about, certain players that have massive contracts. Unfortunately, we saw Edwin Diaz get hurt in a celebration post game several years ago where, the league's best closer who just signed a monster deal was out for the year. And so these contracts for all these different organizations, you want to have coverage for it. Going back to, imagine being an organization and we want the players to compete in the WBC. We love this. But at the same time, the players that are going in the WBC are extremely important to the success of a major league ball club. And if you lose your best player because they're playing in the WBC, the insurance isn't covering them when they get hurt in the WBC. And that's just the reality of it for guys with big contracts. So as much as I love the WBC, to me, the regular season is more important. And making sure the players are, playing for the Yankees or playing for the Astros or playing for the Diamondbacks over the course of the year is more important, unfortunately, than playing for your country, even though it is such a genuinely awesome experience for all the players that get to do it. But there's a business side that I think it makes sense to me when I put myself in that shoes. If I lost my players over the course of the year, if I lose my best player in the WBC, my chances to get to the postseason, which is how my organization makes money and how my job and reputation continues on, I need to have my best players. I rather, if they get hurt, I want them hurt playing a Major League Baseball game. Exactly. So that's kind of the rub here. The rub here.
And look at the roster for the U.S. I mean, there are superstars on that roster and guys that just signed new big contracts. So it's a little scary.
No question. And that's why this is a fine line. We've been talking about, when is the best time to have the WBC, just because we have seen injuries for pitchers that compete in the WBC. This is still, these players aren't fully ramped up yet because it's before the season starts. Could you have a mid-season WBC tournament? Yes. But then what does that mean for overall games, over the course of the season? Does that mean you have to shorten the season? If you shorten the season, that means less revenue for the owners. So that's why the tournament is when it is. It's not perfect.
Hey, and who's your guess to win this thing? Because Japan's been the victor. To me, they have the best cohesive team, and it means more maybe to the country of Japan than it does to some of the other countries. It's the way it appears. And they play a different style of baseball, and it wins them the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they play, they basically play year round, so their players are a little bit more prepared physically as they head into the season, just based on the timeline that Japanese players normally go through. So yeah, there's no question that they should be, one of the teams that is a favorite. I think the roster of Team USA makes them the obvious favorite because you have Skubal and Skeens, and then not only that, you have all these greats that are part of the roster, which is just incredible. But I think a team like the Dominican has those guys are playing winter ball. A lot of major league players do not play winter ball. So some of the arm strength for some of the pitchers is in a better spot because they've been pitching this winter. So I would love to see a small country win it. I think it'd be cool. It'd be great if Australia won it. It'd be awesome if Canada won it. It would be great, just for to show how much some of these teams have grown in the last couple of years with the talent. To be able to beat a team like Japan or Korea or the United States. So I think, my money would be on Japan, USA, but I'm telling you the field, the other teams out there, there's some puncher's chances here to win.
Well, I'm going to stick with my call of Japan just because of the history of how they played in the tournament. But you're right about the U.S. roster this year. But again, man, how cool would it be for Dominican or Venezuela or Canada, like you said, Australia, to just Mexico, just play the tournament of a lifetime and win it. That would be so cool.
It would be great. And by the way, I watched Team USA lose to Mexico in Arizona at the last WBC, and that environment was one of the best environments to watch a baseball game I've ever seen. And this year it'll be a Monday night in early March in Houston. It'll be Team USA versus Team Mexico. There's bad blood, and God, that's going to be such a great game. I'm pretty sure that Paul Skeens is starting that game. So that's going to be, must-watch TV. And then when you get Dominican playing Venezuela or Puerto Rico, those games they're just magic with the music and the drums and the bragging rights. This thing is real. The players really care about it. They really do care about playing and representing their country,
and it means so much to the fans too, Spilly, that they just, the way they eat it up and the way they sport the gear. It's a huge revenue time, I believe, through the WBC merchandising. All right, Spilly, we got a lot to look forward to in 2026. You're a busy man. Keep time for that family. Keep giving us a great broadcast. Keep making us laugh, man, and keep being kind to those fans and everybody that watches you. It is the ticket to the longevity of Mr. Spilborghs' career, and I love it. Thanks so much again for being a guest on the Sandlot Radio Network, this time on the Down Under podcast. Spilly, you're the best.
Let's go. Thanks, TP.
Don't go away. When we return to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast, we have former Major League player who has a son on the World Baseball Classic Australian roster. He himself played in the very first World Baseball Classic for Australia. We have Trent Durrington when we return. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. The Sandlot is presented by Diego Austin Talavera.
G'day everyone, I'm Graham Castle. I'm High Performance Manager for Baseball New South Wales. I'm lucky enough to have been inducted into the Baseball Australia and South Wales Hall of Fame, and I listen to the Sandlot Network.
This spring, something beautiful is blooming in Carlsbad Village. Introducing Diego Austin Talavera, a new coastal shop celebrating handcrafted Mexican Talavera pottery, vibrant succulents, and curated gifts inspired by Baja and Southern California. From statement planners to one-of-a-kind home accents, every piece is chosen to bring color, culture, and sunshine into your space. Opening soon on Carlsbad Village Drive. Follow the journey and shop online at DiegoAustinTalavera.com. Diego Austin Talavera, where coastal California meets the art of Mexico.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG. Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.
Hey everybody, this is Trevor Hoffman, a Hall of Famer and a San Diego Padre, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Trent, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast.
Pleasure, mate. Good, Tad, to be on here and talk all things baseball.
I've had a lot of the guys that have made it to the big leagues over the years, and a lot of them right when they came up. I saw Justin Huber get his first hit, and I saw Mr. Moylan get his very first save, because those things happen at Coors Field, and I was there. But you had a pretty amazing career yourself. But let's turn back the clock to when it was Sandlot days, and you started late. Most kids, if they're going to be good at the game, they start pretty young. But you had interest in other sports. Being an Aussie, you're going to play rugby, you're going to play cricket. How did baseball get into the mix?
Yeah, it's, as you say, started pretty late. I was doing other sports. I was even riding horses at the time. And before I moved to Queensland as a family in 88, I went to a primary school out at Western Sydney called Oakville, out near Windsor. And two Matthews moved from Castle Hill, and we were playing cricket at school, and they played this game of baseball and said, Trent, you might be all right at baseball. You should come to Castle Hill and have a catch. And I said, righto. It's just like all of us in the baseball community. As soon as you pick up that ball and play catch and hit, effectively from day one, I was hooked.
Hooked to the point where you're going to give up the other sports, or did you keep playing the other sports as well?
Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. What year did you make your first state team and get to travel abroad and you can just check out part of the country?
So we moved to Queensland almost maybe 12 months later, and it would have been about 1990. I made the Queensland. I was playing for Surfers Paradise here, and one of the backfields, and the Queensland coach, Neville Brocky, still big name, Queensland Hall of Famer, and still big in Queensland baseball. He was the coach and saw me and said, "Oh, what about the Queensland team?" So that's sort of when that happened, and then the tour started. Down to Sydney. That was played in Brisbane. Did very well that 20 rugby and baseball. A long way through, up until I signed with the Angels, and they said no more rugby. And that was the sign. But the I guess was a little bit of 16s from a professional perspective, and we didn't know a lot about college baseball back then, and there were scouts floating around, and then interest started to ramp up from when I was probably 16. And then 17, and then that's when it all sort of got real to think, oh, well, I've got a chance to go play baseball for, I didn't sign for a lot of money, just go and play and give it a shot and see what happens. And, I grinded away for many years, and that dream came true in August 1999.
So from 94 to 95, you're grinding it out in the minor leagues like everybody else that signs. But you were an Aussie, so you were maybe a little more green than some of the other guys, learning every step of the way. Every level was a new experience. Every city was a new cultural experience, because nothing's like Western Sydney or Queensland where you grew up. None of those spots. So all those were adjustments. And then you got teammates from all over the world, a lot of Latin American players that don't speak English, and then a lot of American guys that might have a little more privilege. So you're battling your way through it. And when you get signed for not a lot of money, they don't really have a lot of expectations for you. So you have to really prove at every level that you can play. And Trent did just that.
Yeah, you talk about, podcast The Sandlot. I last year visiting my son Max, we were in Mesa. The A's complex, minor league complex in Mesa, and the Angels back in the day was in Mesa, and it's no longer a professional facility. It's like a
city park,
a community, yes, city park. That's it. Yeah. But I had this vision and of this grand facility, and it was at the time. But you go there now and say, I must have hit 5,000 balls in that cage there and another 5,000 in that cage there, but it was very basic. But, I did that for 3 years in grinding it out at a Sandlot level as far as spring training and an extended spring. I did rookie ball. They sent me back to extended and had short season A up in Boise, Idaho, which was a great experience. They sent me back to Boise the following year, but the point being there is I grinded it out in 100 degrees in Arizona for 3 years, and then started to get a bit of IA, and then it went on from there. So just when you reflect on those memories, it was a grind.
And you didn't have a lot of Aussie people around you, because the Angels did sign a couple other guys, but not all of them kept moving through the system. They were gone pretty quick, and so you're kind of on your own in this experience.
Yeah, it was like that. And it could have been a positive. There's pros and cons, I guess. There was no communication with home back then. You had to buy a $10 phone card, try and find a phone booth somewhere and plug the numbers in, occasionally call, reverse charges, call home, and that would be, every couple of weeks. So it was just head down and grind it out. They were big days, but I didn't know any different, really. And you'd eat, I'd eat 5 nights a week. I cooked and wings at the local bar 2 nights a week. It was a grind. But, and I say that because I wonder, whether social media and access to communication and things like that for an Australian ball player now, they see their mates on the beach back home having a good time and all those sorts of things, whether they, for me, there was no second choices. It was get to the big leagues, and that's all I got. So, that was the mindset, and that's all I knew, whether it was a mindset or whether that was the reality. So it was just grinded out. But, all in all, wouldn't change a thing. Wouldn't change it.
Well, the 99 August debut with the Angels, what a moment for you. What a moment for Australian baseball and your family. Let's talk about what it meant to everyone, starting with you, because you're the one that did all the grinding.
Yeah. Well, up until that point, I hadn't had a big league invite, so I hadn't spent a lot of time played some big league spring training games, but wasn't in camp with them. The Angels had their facilities, separate minor league facility and a big league facility. So I wasn't, I didn't have a strong relationship with the players, but I was in AA in Erie, Pennsylvania, playing in the Eastern League, having a pretty good year. And, I struggled. I had a slow start in the cold. It was cold that year early and got through April and then started to heat up a little bit. I was still in a heap of bases. And then there was, Angels were scuffling a little bit. And then there was talk of Villande was going to potentially get traded. He was an everyday second baseman. There was a few things. And still at that point, I wasn't, I thought, I've earned an opportunity to go up to AAA, but the big leagues wasn't, in my mind. And sure enough, we just coincidentally, we were on an off day in Erie, Pennsylvania. And my manager, Gary Templeton, ex-big leaguer, San Diego star, he's trying to track me down on the day off and finally got hold of me quite late and said, "Mate, you're going to the big league." Wow. So quickly packed up my apartment, flew that night, didn't arrive in Anaheim until halfway through the BP. And, it wasn't until my first at-bat was against Brett Saberhagen. And I've always been a bit of an aggressive player, so to speak. But in that situation, he threw me a fastball down the middle. I hit it for a line drive to right field and got a base hit my first at-bat. And it wasn't until I rounded first base and sort of looked at the scoreboard and it all sunk in like, wow, this is real. I had to pinch myself.
Mr. Saberhagen won a Cy Young, and he's been a multiple-year 20-game winner, a World Series MVP, and you went up there like, I'm just an Aussie from small town Australia, and I'm going to go up and hit a line drive up the middle against the Cy Young Award winner. And again, what a moment for Australian baseball when, all eyes in Australia are on that guy's first at-bat, and he hits that line drive for a base hit. It was a bigger deal for a lot of people than it was for you, because like you said, you didn't even realize until you came back after rounding first.
No, that's right. It's some of those surreal moments that you have in your career and reflect on, and there's the baseball. There's highs and lows, and that was certainly one of the highest points in my career, if not the highest. Grinding it through the minor leagues and getting that opportunity to play in the big leagues is just something special.
So
not many people do.
Yeah, and not many Aussies. Only 10 position players ever, and 38 total in the history of the baseball world. So it's a pretty amazing accomplishment in so many ways. And to get up there and stay up there as a position player, that's another thing that's been hard for most Aussies to do. There's been guys that get up there, get a cup of coffee, and that's it.
That's right. You understand. It's one thing to get to the big league, but staying there is the next level. And, that next spring training, I didn't have a lot of success in that month and a half I was there, but did okay. Went to the Arizona Fall League and hit 300 plus there and stole a lot of bases and did well. Went into spring feeling pretty good. And then I got hit in the knee, San Diego, in one of the last exhibition games before the season and chipped my kneecap. So, that set me back, effectively set me back 18 months. But, I grinded through and, I got back to the big leagues with the Angels. I missed the World Series year, but got back with them. I was up in a little bit of 2000, then 2003. And Mike Socha just said, look, Darrow, it's probably, if you've got other opportunities out there, not in a bad way. It wasn't a bad conversation. He said, if you've got pretty cool.
We're going to take a quick break. Don't go away. We have more with former Major League player, now the dad of a battling minor league player, who's also on the World Baseball Classic roster for Australia. We have Trent Durrington when we return. Don't go away. I'm your host, Tad Powers, on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. The Sandlot is presented by Diego Austin Talavera.
I'm Phil Brassington, former Australian representative, former player for the Kansas City Royals, longtime minor leaguer and world traveller in the baseball world, and I listen to The Sandlot.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG.
Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life. This spring, something beautiful is blooming in Carlsbad Village. Introducing Diego Austin Talavera, a new coastal shop celebrating handcrafted Mexican Talavera pottery, vibrant succulents, and curated gifts inspired by Baja and Southern California. From statement planners to one-of-a-kind home accents, every piece is chosen to bring color, culture, and sunshine into your space. Opening soon on Carlsbad Village Drive. Follow the journey and shop online at DiegoAustinTalavera.com. Diego Austin Talavera, where coastal California meets the art of Mexico.
It was pretty much decided for me to play baseball when I was born.
The Sandlot's where it all starts, doesn't it?
I wasn't big in everybody. I just threw harder.
It doesn't take any talent to hustle.
If you don't pull for the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven.
Something happening here.
Welcome back to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by Diego Austin Talavera. We're back with Trent Durrington. We're back with Trent Durrington on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. We're talking about getting over to Milwaukee now. Let's go to Milwaukee because this is where you're going to get a chance to play even a little more. And there had been a couple of Aussies that had kind of paved the way with the Brewers to say, hey, we like these Aussies on our roster.
Yeah, it was, albeit we'd had some Aussies there with Dingo and Lloydie, and, you know, it was sort of different front office staff at that point, and certainly coaching staff. But, you know, it was an opportunity. I went into spring training and hit 350 or something and hit a couple of home runs and stole some bases. And, you know, I'd gone back to AA, as per Mike Socia had told me, with the Angels, and taught myself how to catch, and caught that 2002, caught in 2003 at AAA. Not as an everyday player, but played quite a few games. I made the AAA All-Star team that year. But long story short, with that first year in the Brewers, you know, they brought a lot of guys into camp that, you know, had an opportunity to make the club. And anyway, I had a good spring and as a third-string catcher and stole some bases. They liked that. And I made the opening day roster. That was my one and only opening day roster in St. Louis in 2004. You know, you see on my shoulder there was a couple of players. We got posts 2 weeks after that game. President George W. Bush was there through the first pitch, and he came in and said hello to us. That was a surreal moment. That's a story in itself. But he sent me a signed photo and saying, "Hi, Trent, good to meet you. Best wishes." And so that, you know, there was those moments. That was another highlight moment in Bush Stadium. And I came off that year. I really effectively just came off the bench, did a lot of starts, stole bases in tight games, pinch hit for the pitcher. Obviously, that was National League, and one of those scenarios where you come in and you're either the hero or the loser, so to speak, a one-run ball game. And I hit a game-tying home runs in that season, and it was a fun year. But, you know, I got sent down that year, and but made the club again in 2005, and same thing, I was up and down. So that was a cool experience. The Brewers were fun.
You also played in the Australian Baseball League, which is, you know, for a lot of Australians, it's a great opportunity. Even guys that have gotten to the big leagues, playing in your professional league is another thing that you take a lot of honor in.
Definitely, Tad. Yeah, mate. I see for Australian professional players to have the ability to come home and play in a very strong league really helps their development and time. As you mentioned earlier in the station, Australian players are a bit raw compared to game time and at-bats compared to the American or the South American kids. That's an extra 40-odd games that these Aussies get to play. And I always came in the spring ready to go. And that was a testament to the Australian Baseball League. So it's, and I reflect, since I've been retired, that's a long time now, but, well, you'd know the stats, mate, the amount of big leaguers that have come over from affiliated clubs and it's helped accelerate their career and get them ultimately to the big leagues and be stars in the big leagues.
Absolutely. And it should be one of the premier winter development leagues in the world. It has been at times. It has its ups and downs. It has a lot to do with trends in Australian entertainment and sports, and trends in ownership with the ABL, trends in how much is MLB involved and how much is the ABF or now Baseball Australia involved. There's been a lot of changes, but it has endured all those things. And there's still a great place to go play winter ball in Australia.
Yeah, that's it. I've had an opportunity to coach in and around the Bandits the last couple of years, and noticed the Major League Baseball affiliate guys come out, albeit they're coming out, they've been sent out because their team likes them and they want them to develop them. They see it as a development opportunity. Here in the ABL, we're playing for sheep stations. We play to win. So that's a bit of a shock to some of those minor league guys because they go, "Oh, wow, this is real." So that's another strength which helps the player development.
No doubt, and Aussies play hard. The ones that are serious about it play hard. I call it. When you play like that, you're a dirtbag, and that's a term of endearment. And Trent, you played like that. A guy that stole bases, slid head first, dove no matter what, put your body on the line. And it made a difference. And one of the things that stands out when you go to those tournaments, because I scouted for 11 years to all those tournaments in Australia, somebody that can run. And you could. And most guys can't. You're all disappointed. You like the kid and you get to watch and you're like, can I just take another half second off your time? And, you just don't see it. And when somebody can run, you get excited.
It's, I took pride in my running. I worked hard at it. Obviously, I had some fast twitch stuff and I could run probably naturally a little bit, but I certainly worked at it as a skill as far as when I was a kid. Even when I was playing rugby, I used to tow tyres and it was all about explosive, plyometric type stuff. So I did work at that because for me, bases is, my top end speed, it's not anything too flash, but it's that explosive first, second step and stealing bases, which was, I worked hard at and you have to have that through the system. You can't be just the average player that's just, something's got to stand out and you've got to bring something to the table. And fortunate enough that for me, that was the speed.
Now let's talk about your son, Max, because you're going through it now. And we talked off air about it. It's harder for us to witness the career path of our kids than it is for us to do it ourselves. And you've gone through it with Max, and he obviously had some of the same skill set you could have, being able to run, being a plus fielder, having some pop in the bat. So, but it's still this journey, and it's like, what direction do you go? Should he go to college? Is he going to get a chance to sign? And if he does, is it enough money to justify? Let's talk about what it was like with Max.
Yeah, it's uncanny how parallel some milestones have happened for him, which are compared to my career. And I think he's better player than me, better athlete, and certainly better, I think, make-up mentally. But he played rugby too all the way through, and then the interest came because of you can run and he's a good player. And it's from a father's perspective. I was fortunate enough to coach him, and when you're coaching and at the Queensland level, and it's not quite as stressful as a parent because you're in the game coaching, helping the whole team, and he's just sort of dovetailed into that team. So your focus isn't on your son. But I got to say now, when I'm in the stands, it's or reflecting on watching his games in pro ball and things, it's different. It's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
You want him to succeed. You want him to be better than you ever were. But that's a high ceiling for a kid. You know, your dad was a major leaguer, so that's a tough ceiling. But he's got probably more going for him going in than you did. A better understanding, better training. Everything about his development was guided by you instead of you starting at 14 and, you know, hoping that one day you're good enough, right?
No question. You know, we always have the opportunity to talk about those little 1%ers within the game, and, you know, why you do these things or why you don't do them. You know, there's so many tangibles. That's the beauty of baseball, as we all understand it. You know, so many tangibles within the game, and you can't learn that overnight. It takes, you know, it can take 10 to fully grasp. You know, you could be in your mid-20s as a pro ball player, and things start to finally sink in. You know, where am I going to be? How's this game starting to come together? You're thinking 3 or 4 innings ahead. You're thinking about a pitcher that you faced, you know, 2 months ago on the other side of the country. All sorts of these things. But no question, it has, on reflection, certainly helped him. You know, I try to keep, as a coach, things as simple as possible as far as mechanics. I haven't got the best eye for mechanics. Just think about, you know, the process and then let the rest take care of itself, so to speak. Yeah, no, it's been fun, mate. It's been fun. And then, you know, it sort of came around pretty quick as well, because from about 16, he might have an opportunity for pro ball, and then some university opportunities came about. And at that point, that was 2 years ago, so he was 16. We went to the US and toured 4 different universities, and we left it to them. That was impressive. They put out the red carpet and sort of bid why they be a good fit for Max. And I've got to say, all of them were a good fit, albeit they were different. But at the time, he chose Arizona State, and I think that was largely because of Willie Bloomquist, previous big leaguer, similar player to myself. We got to spend a couple of days with them and be around them on the field, and he just had a connection. You know, there was other universities, probably facilities and things like that, but he said, yeah, let's do it. So that's where we were, and that sort of, initially, it seemed like for a few weeks anyway, it sort of squashed any professional interest, and then there was conversation around, well, would you consider pro ball? And we said, no, college we think's the best route. And then it came down to, well, there's got to be a number. What's the number? And the number for us was, if it doesn't work out, it's got to be a life-changing figure, in that if we invest it somewhat, you know, regardless of baseball, he'll have a good investment base to come back and set him up and move on with normal life. So he sort of had some figures in his head, which I don't know where he got them from, but he got them. And I think he just wants to be a ball player. Wouldn't say he's a bad student. He's a good student, but had to work hard at it. He just wanted to play baseball full time. So anyway, we got to that number. A few teams were walking up the number, and he got to where he needed to be, and that was it. And we were very impressed with the A's, specifically the representative here in Australia, and then we met some other front office people and spoke to other people within the organisation and did our research, and very happy with the decision to go with the A's.
Wow, that's quite the journey. And Arizona State would have been a nice fallback, I must say. It's one of the top programs in the country, and one of the best places to play weather-wise in the country, and one of the best conferences. So not a bad plan B. But when a major league club comes to the party with your asking figure, then it's hard to turn that down too. I mean, did you ask for the college included in that bonus too? Because they sometimes add that.
Yeah, he got that on top. He got an extra $150,000 US on top for a rainy day. So that's also good too. You do university at the front end, or you do it at the back end, it's there if he wants it.
That's awesome, and you have to utilize it, because it's money that you won't use if you don't use. You know, if you don't use it, they just don't give it. So yeah, I highly recommend it over time that he gets that done too. Wow, what an awesome situation that is.
And the beauty of that is he can use it anywhere in the world. So, you know, if it doesn't work out, you know, he can come back here and spend that money here. And for that sort of money, you can go to a private university and get a pretty good degree.
Yeah, you can. And become the Prime Minister of Australia.
Yeah, I'm into my politics, but I'm very jaded by Australian politics at the moment. So let's not go down that.
I understand, as I am about U.S. politics, brother. So we will not get into that. But I do want to say too that even though Max has got a long road, he's got this WBC coming up. I believe he's the youngest player on the roster. It's pretty cool to represent your country at that age, at that stage, man. Because that's, for a lot of people, that's as big as it's ever going to get, is the WBC.
Yeah, it is. It's when you put it like that, Tad, that gives me goosebumps because it is also an opportunity. Thankful that Dingo and the staff have seen the value that Max brings to the team. Dingo's a very hands-on, strategic manager. When I say Dingo, probably Dave Nielsen. Everybody knows Dingo.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'll suck every last bit out of a team as far as the personnel, timing, very analytical. Got great foresight as far as how the game is unfolding. So I'm sure Max will play a very specialised sort of role there, come off the bench, steal a base, maybe have to bunt, whatever it might be. But as an 18-year-old, well, he's 19, turns 19 today, and he's in the air to LA. But great opportunity and excited for him. It sets him up for, hopefully 3-4 WBCs moving forward.
Not to mention a couple Olympics, one in LA and one right there in Brisbane.
Yeah, incredible. I was fortunate enough to play in the first WBC in 2006, and that was in Florida. We played Italy, Venezuela, Dominican. Was the other team, and albeit we didn't win. Venezuela was a 3-1 game. Dropped Italy, sort of got us. Big league guy, I can't recall his name. He pitched well, but we competed in all those games. That's the thing with Australia, and Australia's shown it in the last WBC, the W12 and Olympics, of course, over the years. So there's always high hopes, and fingers crossed they can get through to the second round and then see what happens from there. In this tournament play, anything can happen.
Well, as far as I know, you and Max will be the first father-son in the World Baseball Classic representing Australia. I'm just going out on a limb, but I believe that's true. And
yeah, it's very.
Let's hope that you're the first father and son big leaguers, because I don't think that's happened either.
No, let's it. Let's hope. It's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting for him.
He's a son of a future big leaguer. He's a former big leaguer. Trent Durrington, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. It's absolutely my honor. Thanks for listening to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. I'd like to thank today's guest on the Sandlot, our Sandlot Champion Character of the Week, Mason Hayes Conway from the Yarra Warra Tigers. He also is on the Little League State team. We also had former Major League player, now broadcaster with the Rockies, MLB Network Radio, and Apple TV, Ryan Spilly Spilborghs, and Trent Durrington, who played in the major leagues with the California Angels and the Milwaukee Brewers. He also played in the World Baseball Classic representing Australia. His young, just turned 19-year-old son, Matt, is on the Australian World Baseball Classic team and is a minor league player in the Oakland Athletics organization. Remember, you can listen to the latest Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast every weekend on the Sirius XM Radio MLB Network podcast platform and on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Pandora, Apple Music, and Simplecast. Please explore the Sandlot Radio Network Facebook and Instagram pages for video content with the major league players. Also, check out SandlotRadioNetwork.com, our website, for photos and reels from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. The Sandlot has been presented by Diego Austin Talavera and sponsored by the Sandlot Radio Network, Grit Sports Collective, Guzman E. Gomez, GYG, the best Mexican in Australia, and Freestyle Pools Sydney, pools that withstand the test of time. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own, it's our field, it's our neighborhood, it's our team, it's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
Is this heaven?
It's Iowa. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG.
Crunchy cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
This spring, something beautiful is blooming in Carlsbad Village. Introducing Diego Austin Talavera, a new coastal shop celebrating handcrafted Mexican Talavera pottery, vibrant succulents, and curated gifts inspired by Baja and Southern California. From statement planners to one-of-a-kind home accents, every piece is chosen to bring color, culture, and sunshine into your space. Opening soon on Carlsbad Village Drive. Follow the journey and shop online at DiegoAustinTalavera.com. Diego Austin Talavera, where coastal California meets the art of Mexico. When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.